So for those of you that are just joining, welcome to the applicant briefing for the CAM Pathfinder Demonstrate competition. A recording and a PDF of the slides will be put up on IFS shortly after the briefing. Brilliant. I think we'll make a start there then. So for those of you that have just joined, welcome to the CAM Pathfinder Demonstrate competition. I'm just going to introduce to you who we have on the call today. So my name is Jamie Lee. I'm the competition manager for this competition here at Innovate UK. Richard Morris is the innovation lead. We also have David from DBT, Alex Wood from Zenzic, Natalia from DBT, and Sunil from Zenzic. So this is the agenda for the briefing today displayed on the screen. We will end with some useful links and a Q&A. So please place any questions you might have in the Q&A box as we go through the briefing. So I'm now going to play a video from David Webb, which is pre-recorded.
Good morning, afternoon, evening. Thank you for joining us on this competition briefing call. Apologies I can't be with you in person, but hopefully you find the briefing interesting and informative. As Head of CAM Technologies and Innovation, I am responsible for aligning government's growth objectives with the opportunities that CAM and the UK CAM sector present. These competitions are our first major commitment from the 150 million CAM Pathfinder programme and a strong step forward in that alignment. Hopefully you're all aware of the opportunity that CAM brings us. If we get this right, there will be significant positive impact across society and 66 billion added to the UK economy by 2040. And this opportunity is not just here, it's a global one, and we want the UK CAM sector to be a key player in that global CAM opportunity. CAM Pathfinder is a key part of the UK's modern industrial strategy, part of the UK government's overall plan to support UK industry's growth into the future. Alongside CAM Pathfinder, there are also opportunities to align with Drive 35 and their support towards net zero and investment via the National Wealth Fund. As I highlighted at the start, CAM Pathfinder seeks to unlock economic growth opportunities, anchoring the CAM supply chain here in the UK with globally competitive support to globally competitive products and services, enhancing and supporting investment and export opportunities. We want the UK to be recognised as a global CAM player with a strong CAM supply chain, a regulatory environment that enables safe and secure CAM deployments that have a measurable positive impact on people's journeys and the movement of goods across the nation. I mentioned regulation on the previous slide, but I want to highlight that the UK government, through DfT and its agencies, is making significant strides in the changes to the regulation and legislation that will ensure that self-driving services can operate legally across the UK. The AV Act of 2024 sets out the 4 clear pillars for this, and with the advancement of the Automated Passenger Services SI, we'll have an opportunity to deploy bus-like and taxi-like services without a safety driver during 2026. Thank you so much for your time today. My email is on the screen if you have any questions for me, but I know the team from Zenzic and Innovate UK will answer most, if not all of them, over their presentations. Thanks again for your time, and I look forward to engaging with you over the next few weeks and months. Good morning, afternoon, evening.
Lovely. Okay. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you very much, David, for that message. So just to introduce myself, my name is Alex Wood. I'm Head of Product within Zenzic. So I'm just going to give you an overview of the competition itself, a bit of background, how it fits in with that CAM Pathfinder scheme that David's just talked about. So CAM Pathfinder programme, is invested £150 million to support the development and commercial rollout of CAM solutions. The aim is to boost innovation, jobs and economic growth across the UK. It's laying the foundation for an early commercial market and to position the UK to secure first mover advantage in Europe for the deployment of CAM products and services. The programme will support the UK CAM sector to accelerate its technological capabilities and demonstrate CAM operations as commercially viable. The programme will focus on targeted, high-value market segments in the UK in early commercialisation of these technologies, whilst also ensuring it's safe and secure for all. Okay, next slide, please, Jamie. So a bit of background into Zenzic as an organisation. So we are focused on shaping the future of transport and mobility, uniting and working between industry, government and academia to position the UK as a global leader in CAM. We're working to make the UK a top destination for high-value CAM investment, and we're also recognising where its strengths lie and trying to make it a key exporter in the global supply chain. And we're trying to achieve that through our three core pillars of insights, innovation and collaboration. Through our collaboration pillar, so we're looking to provide a platform that connects organisations at the forefront of CAM, promoting their work both domestically and internationally. By building these connections, we're hoping to drive investment into the sector and keep the UK at the global forefront of mobility innovation. And then into our insights pillar, so we're here focused on understanding the future of CAM and what it means and where the opportunities lie and how we can create a forward-looking vision for the sector. So great examples of this are our UK CAM roadmap to 2035 and the CAM UK supply chain report, outlining frameworks for the UK supply chain, identifying the UK's unique strengths and high-value opportunities. And this work has really laid the foundations for how we inform both industry and inform government policies and strategies, such as this CAM Pathfinder competition. And then into our innovation pillar. So really that's around supporting these funded R&D programs and we'll lay out today how we can do that with you and for you. Okay, next slide, Jamie, please. So as I mentioned, the work at Zenzic is underpinned by the core program centered around those three pillars. A key activity within this program is our support for CAM Pathfinder and how we make the most of it for you. So talking around our business development team and Sunil from our business development team will give you some information about how we can help you with your applications and also then through the whole process. Through the competitions team and the projects team that will then help you once your projects are live, and our stakeholder engagement team and insights team forming part of those two other pillars that I talked about. And we're all working in collaboration with Innovate UK through their assessment team, through the contracting and payments and your monitoring service providers that will be part of your project when they are live. And also in collaboration then with the Department for Business and Trade to make sure that we are meeting all the aims and objectives of the competition and making sure that the funding is having the maximum impact. Okay, next slide, please, Jamie. So we're here today to discuss the demonstrate stream of CAM Pathfinder. The demonstrate stream sits within a group of funding mechanisms from Mobilise, which is our startup accelerator program, Enable, which is our service and sort of operational program, our feasibility studies that are looking at late stage business cases towards high value early deployment opportunities. But I want to focus now really on demonstrate and what that's looking to achieve. So next slide, please, Jamie. So on this axis of technological maturity versus service maturity, the demonstrate program is looking to target the mid to late stage technological maturity funding opportunities throughout the kind of service maturity envelope. So really we're looking at here getting technological maturity of CAM products and CAM enabling services to the point that they can be commercialized in the near term. So we want to do that through enabling you to develop demonstrator products and services that you can take to customers to gain that an early commercial traction. Okay, next slide, please, Jamie. So furthermore to that, ultimately, this is looking to support you as businesses to develop your market relevant technologies and engage customers. So this program is, and this funding stream is really for the technology and CAM enabling service developers to make sure that that product or CAM enabling service is ready to go into market. So it's about developing the technologies and products. We want these to be led by the technology developers, but I'm going to talk about some of the supply chain and customer elements and service where service providers can fit into this. And at a very high level, and will be discussed by Innovate later, we're looking at projects between 500,000 and £2 million of grant per project, lasting between 12 and 18 months, and they can be single or collaborative. Okay, next slide, please, Jamie. So just to confirm the aims, so we are absolutely looking that through this program, we will equip you with demonstrator products or CAM enabling services to allow you to capitalize on early self-driving market opportunities through engagement with customers in validated and representative environments. So we want you to be getting to that mid to late technology readiness level so that and engage customers throughout the project, not just at the end of the project, but have early engagement, and then by doing the project, have that demonstrator ready that you can really engage the customers and start to gain that commercial traction. And we're focusing on on-vehicle and off-vehicle technologies. An overview of these is highlighted in the bullet points on the slide, but I'm not going to labour those because they're going to be covered in detail in the scope section. But one key point to note is that we're funding these technologies across the product lifecycle. So whether that's from the development of these technologies and products, through to the kind of validation, verification, and testing, the manufacturing of the products, safety, regulatory readiness. So across the full life cycle of the projects, of the technologies that are on screen there. Okay, next slide, please, Jamie. And before we go into the detail of the scope and the eligibility, I just want to drop some kind of hints and tips out there for all of you applying, and these are really important. And absolute number one is please engage early. So Sunil will talk about our business development team and how we can help you. I say this before, I think I said this at the launch event about don't be a statistic. Generally, and in the last rounds, 30% of people that applied were ineligible because they made a simple mistake in either the grant funding amount or some of the small minor eligibility criteria. And given that you're all going to put a lot of effort into these bids and applications, please don't fall into that trap. So please engage us early, ask questions, come to us if you have any queries on scope or anything like that. We're not funding ADAS or DCAS with no application towards level 4, SE level 4 automation. But if you can justify that you have a route to that and that you're using that system as a route towards full automation, then it can be eligible. More mature technology development is welcome. So I'm talking about earlier I talked about getting towards mid TRL levels. But if you have a later stage product that you are looking to further develop, that is absolutely welcome in this program, as long as it's pre-commercial. We want you to all be ambitious in creating and safeguarding high-value jobs and anchoring centres of excellence in the UK. So that can be R&D centres of excellence, but it's all about anchoring skills and capabilities. We want you to be engaging with those route to markets, as I mentioned earlier, but not just the route to markets, also the associated supply chain being critical as well. So can you demonstrate that you're also helping to anchor and secure UK supply chain opportunities through your project? We're also more than welcome to projects that are focusing on high export potential. So while we want your project to be delivered in the UK, exporting the potential further opportunities overseas in the future is very welcome as part of your application. And we also, as part of this, you will have the opportunity to be able to showcase your project at CENEX in 2027. So you'll be expected to be in a position where you will be able to have your demonstrator ready and be able to explain what that demonstrator will look like on such a stand. But it will be an opportunity to, and it probably will be a competitive process to make it onto that stand. Yeah, and as we'll touch on here, it's part of a written application, and there will be a panel interview as well if you are selected. So I think at that point, I will wish you all the best of luck. And as I said earlier, please get in contact as soon as possible with your ideas. Do you want me to touch on the key dates, Jamie, and then I'll hand over to you? Or
I
do you
don't
want to do it?
mind. I'm happy to do it if you want, Alex. Thank you.
Over to you. Thank you, Jamie.
Just before we go through the scope slides, we'll just touch on the key dates to bear in mind for this competition. So the competition opened on the 20th of October, and it will close on the 17th of December at 11 a.m. on the dot. And it is important to note that this deadline, note this deadline because IFS will automatically close at this time, and applications can no longer be submitted. The interview panel will run between the 23rd of February and the 6th of March 2026. We will inform you as to whether or not you've been successful in the competition on the 30th of March 2026 by 5 p.m. If you are successful, you will then move into project setup, meaning you should start your project by the 1st of June 2026. And the stop date for ending your project is the 31st of May 2028. So I believe I'm now going to hand over to Richard, who will take you through the scope slides.
Thanks very much, Jamie Lee. Thank you. Next slide, please. Great. So I'm Richard Morris. I'm the innovation lead for connected autonomous vehicles at Innovate UK, and I'd like to take you through a brief summary and then the scope of the competition. Now, some of this has already been touched on by Alex, so I'll not repeat the vast amounts of repetition, but this wording represents what you'll see actually on the IFS portal. So from the first page, the key points to bring out here. So the program is going to focus on high value market segments in the early stages of commercialization of the technologies, and trying to ensure that these are safe and secure for everybody. And the key piece of information from this slide is that we have a fund of 20 million to fund up to 15 projects for this competition. That's assuming that we get enough high quality applications for this particular competition. Thank you. Next slide, please. So as Alex has said, the aim of the competition is to support development of products and services, or enabling services, I should say, that improve or that prove the enhanced capability and unlock those clear commercial opportunities, not just within the UK, but globally. We're hoping to get exports from this as well. We do reserve the right to adjust any funding allocations for any of our competitions under exceptional circumstances, and that might include changes to policy or portfolio funding considerations. And the portfolio funding considerations are mentioned in the brief later on. Next slide then, please, Jamie. Thank you. So moving on to the scope, as Alex has explained, the aim of the competition is to support the development of products and connected and automated mobility enabling services. And we're expecting successful projects to reach technology readiness levels where they can be demonstrated and validated in representative environments. So we're not looking at bench testing, we're looking at testing out in the real world or under environments which can be shown to be representative of how they will be deployed in service. The projects will be expected to engage actively with potential customers or operators, and must move towards clear commercial opportunities based on well-defined market understanding for that particular product or service. So your product must identify a clear market opportunity and an innovative project which exploits it in the UK or internationally. Next slide, please. So there are some specific things that you must do with your project application. So your project must advance and mature the strategic CAM products and services to at least a stage where they can be demonstrated and validated in representative environments, as I've just said. That is mandatory. Your project must also use those products and services to engage multiple customers and upstream supply chains to increase the commercial readiness of UK businesses to be a significant part of the global CAM supply chain. realizing export potential. So it's really important to consider that you will be part of the supply chain, and there are links above and there are links below, and we're expecting you to be in contact with both of those links up and down the chain. Your project must also be led by a business, which is a technology developer or an enabling organization, such as an engineering consultancy or a technology service provider, directly involved in developing the CAM solution. So unlike the other competitions, which you'll have heard about in the feasibility studies or you'll hear about tomorrow, this is all about technology. This is about getting new capability. Your project must focus on technologies and systems that ultimately enable the operation of no user in charge platforms. So no user in charge is a terminology that's used in the AV Act. In normal parlance, please consider that to be level 4 for JSC 3016, level 4 level of autonomy. So your project must also develop and show the customer pipeline and commercial potential. So this may include other applications such as ADAS or DCAS and adjacent sectors, but primarily there must be a clear route forward to a level 4 application. And last 2 points, your project must reach a technology readiness level of either 5 or 6, or a manufacturing readiness level of 4 or 5 at the end of the project. And as Alex has explained, you must be prepared to showcase the outcomes of your project at a CENEX Expo event. We would expect that to be CENEX 2027. If your project is long, it might slip and it might be the 2028 version of that particular event. But we would expect you to be in a position to showcase what you've done at a CENEX Expo event. Next slide, please, Jamie. We all use various different jargons and terminologies in our technical lives. So just to make sure we have a common understanding, please make sure that the terminology you use in your application complies with the meanings in the BSI Flex 1890 version 6, which is the connected and automated mobility vocabulary. Touched on portfolio approach. I'll say it in a little bit more detail here. So we do want to fund a variety of projects across the different themes, the different sub-themes. We're looking at different project values, different technologies, different markets, different technological maturities, and also types of project collaboration. Just to note that if you are applying into both this competition and the Enable competition, then we appreciate that you may not be expecting to get all of your projects or applications funded, but should you be successful in multiple projects, then we will take into account your ability to be able to deliver more than one project if in fact you are successful. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. So moving on to the themes, there are 2 main themes. The first theme, which on this slide is in bold, is on vehicle innovations which support early commercial self-driving vehicle opportunities. So these are all things which are definitely on the vehicle, and the sub-themes within here are the vehicle perception and localization, vehicle control, and then automating driving systems. On the vehicle perception and localization sensors with their associated compute systems, which we would normally expect to be built into the sensors, but not necessarily. We've got some examples there. So camera systems, radar systems, LiDAR systems, various types of IMU or PNT systems. Looking at vehicle control, this might be drive-by-wire systems or electronics and hardware integration. For automated driving systems, this could be either the automated driving system software, so traditionally that's called the stack, or it could be the onboard compute systems, the hardware. Next slide, please. So the second theme is, as Alex mentioned earlier, is off-vehicle innovations. So these are, again, required to enable early commercial self-driving vehicle opportunities. So we're looking at various different subject areas here, such as connectivity and data. So that might include connectivity, cybersecurity, data storage, data management, data sharing, mapping services as well. Another sub-theme is the development tools for development or application of artificial intelligence or machine learning. So that might include things like model-based systems engineering and software development tools, and also virtual tools, models, and digital twins. And then the third sub-theme is technical services, which might include verification and validation of virtual tools, testing services, and that can be either physical testing services or virtual testing services, and also safety case development and how to audit such safety cases. Next slide, please, Jamie. Then looking at some of the more optional things. So these are some of the items that your project can include. So previous two slides were looking at what must be included. These are more optional, so your project can include these. So development and integration of hardware and software components into a functional vehicle platform, a system or a subsystem. Project can include validation, verification, and testing in relevant, representative, or controlled environments to demonstrate the technical performance, safety, and reliability of the innovation. The project can also include manufacturing development and pilot production in relevant environments. So we would not be looking to support manufacturing techniques which are not scalable. We would look to look at volume manufacturing and scale up rather than initial prototypes. We're also your project can include activities to support safety assurance, cybersecurity we've spoken about, and also preparedness for the new regulations which are being formed at the moment under the secondary legislation for the AVA Act. And finally, your project can also include specific filling of specific technology gaps. It can improve safety or security, it can reduce costs, can improve performance or reliability, and enable the scaling up of product supply or service provision to meet customer needs. Next slide, please. So we've talked about what we're going to fund. Just to be clear about what we are not going to fund. So we're not funding projects that are focusing on trialing an existing CAM technology. If you want to do that, then please listen tomorrow because that's more likely to be an appropriate competition for you. We're not funding projects that are early stage CAM technology or application feasibility studies. So if it's those really early technology readiness levels and you're looking at whether the technology might work, this is not really the competition for you. We're also not funding projects that are primarily intended for air, rail, or maritime applications. But if you're looking at developing a technology which can be used in those areas, but the primary application is CAM, then that's acceptable. But if it's primarily intended away from CAM in either air, rail, or maritime, then it isn't. We're also not funding projects which are primarily intended for micro goods vehicles, indoor vehicles, or military applications. And by micro goods vehicles, we mean vehicles which would not be normally allowed to go onto the road. So things like the pavement robots and so on. We're not funding projects which are developing advanced driver assistance systems, so ADAS, or driver control assistance systems, DCAS, if there is no application towards level 4 automation, as defined by the Society of Automotive Engineers J3016 standard. And finally, we're not funding projects that are involving installing infrastructure other than to validate the primary product or the CAM enabling service being developed in your project. So small amounts of infrastructure are allowed specifically to allow validation of the products, but we're not funding capital installations in this particular competition. I think that's it from my side, Jamie Lee.
Thanks very much, Richard.
Thank
you. We're just going to move on to eligibility criteria for this competition now. So your project must have a grant funding request of between £500,000 and £2 million. It must last between 9 and 18 months, must start by the 1st of June 2026 and end by the 30th of November 2027. It must lead to a demonstrator product or CAM enabling service, resulting in new commercial opportunities or securing follow-on investment. It must be achieving a technology readiness level of 5 or 6, or a manufacturing readiness level of 4 or 5 by completion. So to lead a collaborative project or to work alone, your organisation must be a UK registered business of any size. Academic institutions cannot lead or work alone. And organisations that are not profit driven or do not have a commercial focus, including community interest companies and charities, are not allowed to lead in this competition. So for this competition, your project can be collaborative. In a collaborative project, there must be at least 2 grant claiming partners, and there must be evidence of an effective collaboration. So to collaborate with the lead, your organisation must be one of these organisation types. To be an eligible collaboration, the lead and at least one other organisation must apply for funding, as we mentioned, when entering their costs into the application. So your project can include partners that do not receive any funding, for example, non-UK businesses. However, their costs will count towards the total project costs, and subcontractors are allowed in this competition. They can be selected from anywhere in the UK, but you must select them through a usual procurement process. You can use subcontractors from overseas, but must make the case in your application as to why you can't use suppliers from the UK. So a business can only lead on one application, but it can be included as a collaborator in one further application. If an organisation is not leading any application, it can collaborate in up to 2 applications. So this competition does allow you to submit a previously submitted application, but please be aware that addressing assessor feedback does not necessarily guarantee that the application will be funded. So now we're going to look into how you start and complete your application within IFS. So you'll firstly need to create an account. You must ensure that you enter IFS as the correct organisation type. And this is really important when you're starting an account as a lead applicant, or whether you're a partner being invited in by the lead. Businesses should use the company's house lookup function so that we have your company number. If you're not company's house registered, you are still eligible to start an application, but if you're successful, you must register with company's house and provide us with your registration number before your goal can be issued. Failure to register could result in an offer being withdrawn. This is because to be eligible as a UK registered business, you must have a company's house registration number. So you'll then come to the main application questions. Please take note of all the guidance given within each question and whether or not you can upload an appendix in support of your answer, and if so, how many pages this appendix should be. And then here are questions 17 to 24 as well. For 24, you are required to upload the economic monitoring form as a template. And also all of this information is displayed within IFS, and there's detailed guidance on there. So subject to certain criteria, UK applicants are legally required to tell the government about acquisitions of certain entities in 17 sensitive areas of the economy. More information can be found via the link on the slide. The 17 areas are as described on the slide. If you are uncertain about whether an acquisition is notifiable, you may contact the government on the email address on the screen to seek a view or get legal advice from your own sources. In response to this need, we have now included 2 further questions into the application form, but these are unscored. So you will need to let our UK know if the strategic export controls apply to the information in your application, just so that we can ensure we do not share this with any of our assessors that are based outside of the UK. You should also consider if you will need a licence to work with international partners or contractors during or after the project. If you do need a license to export information outside the UK, then you should also be mindful of what you share with international partners or contractors. So this is the first additional unschooled question. You are asked whether your work involves any international collaboration or engagement. If yes, you must provide details of any expected international collaboration or engagement. You must include a list of the names and the countries that any international project participants are based in, which must also include details of any subcontractors or service providers. If your proposed work does not involve international collaboration or engagement, your answer must confirm this. The second question, as shown here on the slide, asks you to explain if your proposed project work relates to UKRI's trusted research and innovation principles, as per the bullet on the slide. I'm now going to hand over, and I believe the questions are going to be discussed in some more detail.
Thank you, Jamie Lee. My name is Sunil. I'm a business development manager representing Zenzic. Just before we move on to the questions, just a little bit of information about the BD business development team and the services that we're able to provide. We're here to provide any and each applicant with advice and guidance on your proposed idea as it aligns to your application and the funding competition. Our aim is to ensure that the value proposition, project outcomes, project level KPIs are appropriately aligned to the competition scope. Importantly, we'd like to ensure that you have presented sufficient evidence to provide assurance to assessors of a successful project for delivery, project outcomes, and the UK CAM ecosystem. As you can see on the screen, these questions aim to extract both business strategy and specifics around your project proposal. Please consider the unscored questions as they could provide key points of reference for the assessment process. And we advise you to thoroughly review the supporting documentation and guidance before compiling your responses. Next slide, please. So there are quite a number of questions to go through, and I'll try not to repeat some of the guidance earlier mentioned and the scope points advised by Richard and Alex. So question 9 asks the applicant to explain the strategic importance of your project proposal to both your organisation and the wider CAM ecosystem. Applicants should clearly describe alignment with the applicant's long-term business strategy and the CAM sector, ability to exploit these project outcomes, and strategic fit with any existing products and or services. Question 10 asks applicants to explain the market opportunity for your innovation, and why now is the right time to undertake your project, and therefore provide a clear understanding of the market opportunity supported with credible evidence and realistic market segmentation. Please do consider serviceable and obtainable market, quantify the market opportunity, and why this project positions you to capture the opportunity itself. Question 11 will ask you how you will enter and scale your target market. Therefore, applicants should aim to demonstrate a clear and credible approach to entering and scaling their market, evidence customer interest or demand appropriate to its maturity stage, and identify any barriers and strategies to overcome them. Next slide, please. Question 12 asks about your specific product or CAM enabling service proposition and how it differentiates from the existing solutions. So please clearly articulate the technical and commercial innovation, how this addresses a real customer need. Please identify any IP and any commercial and business model innovation. Ensure that safety and security of product and service is also made clear. Question 13 asks about the current maturity of the innovation and the roadmap of what it will achieve by the end of the project. So as mentioned previously, we've talked about TRL levels, MRL levels at the beginning and at the project end, plans on how to achieve this alignment to customer demonstration, and importantly, freedom to operate when considering IP. The next question asks applicants to present a clear, detailed and credible plan for delivering the technical objectives of the project. So please articulate milestones that are tied to TRL and MRL progression, specific outputs and deliverables that you intend to achieve. Please clarify resource allocation. A detailed delivery plan would be helpful, but please do I also identify any significant engineering spend items. Next slide, please. Question 15 seeks information about how you will manage the project in an effective manner. So please detail any governance frameworks, including specific roles, approach to regular reviews that you will undertake, escalation pathways, tools or techniques that you will implement to manage the project, and please articulate how you will ensure delivery and quality control. Question 16 is more focused about the team. So who is in your team and why are they the right partner to deliver this project should you be in a collaborative application? So please provide information on the experience of the partners, a plan for managing any external resources, identify any recruitment needs or gaps and the timing to address these, but also consider the commercial and technical capability to deliver the project. Question 17 is an opportunity for applicants to present how you will leverage and strengthen the UK supply chain, including your own organisation. So please identify critical suppliers, their readiness to deliver proposed activity, capabilities in terms of design, development, testing, prototyping and manufacturing, how lasting UK supply chain relationships will be established, strengthened or enhanced, and please identify, as mentioned previously, any outputs for UK and or export. Next slide, please. Question 18 asks applicants to identify the risks associated with delivery and how they will be managed and mitigated. Proposals should demonstrate a structured approach to risk management, identification of key risks that could impact delivery of project outcomes. Please present a clear mitigation strategies and a cadence of reviewing these identified risks. Question 19 asks how the project will disseminate the knowledge. So please make clear a plan for dissemination where, and we suggest to include target audiences and channels, how this dissemination will benefit the UK CAM system, and what you will also show or intend to show or display at the proposed Cenex Expo also. Question 20 asks applicants to make clear how you will exploit the results of the project and the route to commercial success. So please make clear an actionable plan for exploiting the proposed outputs in your submission. Your customer engagement plan during and post the project, and identification of early adopters and why they're credible would be helpful to articulate. Who and how you will address exploitation and organizational growth is another area of consideration. Next slide, please. Question 21 asks applicants to make clear how the project is affordable and delivers value for money. So therefore, please ensure you fully justify the total costs of the project. These must be aligned to your project plan. why these costs are appropriate to deliver a demonstrator project, the balance of the total project costs and grant across the project consortium should you be in one. Please justify major capital, materials or subcontracting costs. Non-UK costs should be made fully clear and why these cannot be incurred in the UK. Question 22 asks applicants to provide rationale on why the project relies on this grant funding and the amount of funding required. So please explain how each partner will finance their contribution, identify the status of any required funding to complete your proposed activities, the need for public funding, and what would happen in the absence of funding. Question 23 requests information from applicants on the additional benefits within and beyond each of the organisations. So please articulate UK supply chain and CAM sector benefits, individual partner benefits, identification of longer term growth, any additional investment, regional and or national impacts, and please do identify economic or environmental benefits. Before we move on, you will note earlier on that question 24 is not scored. However, you will be expected to submit a project level economic monitoring form, which will be assessed by economic appraisers from DBT. So please ensure that this document is submitted. Thank you. And I'll now pass back over to Innovate UK. Oh, sorry, DBT, my mistake, to Natalia.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll quickly introduce myself. So I'm Natalia. I work at the Department for Business and Trade. Sorry. Hopefully you can hear me a bit better now. Yeah, work at the Department for Business and Trade. I'm an economist, and alongside my colleagues, we are responsible for value for money assessments for a range of grants, including CAM Pathfinder Demonstrate. Next slide, please. So I'll quickly give an overview of value for money and why it matters. Next slide, please. So, of course, government spending must be good value for UK taxpayers and be justified. So the Treasury requires that public funding for research and development projects undergoes a value for money assessment and meets a minimum threshold. So myself and colleagues will determine each project value for money based on its benefit cost ratio. Next slide, please. So the benefit cost ratio is calculated by our calculations of the expected benefit to the UK economy relative to the cost to the exchequer or government. And the benefits that we calculate are derived from jobs and R&D spillovers. So for this, we will use data from your written application and the economic monitoring form. These benefits are adjusted for risk and additionality, which we use evidence from your written application to inform as well. And yeah, very simply, the grant funding requested is the cost to the exchequer. And as you can imagine, for a set level of benefits, the lower the ask, the higher the benefit cost ratio and your score. Next slide, please. So I'll just run through quickly what kind of information and evidence we need to assess the project's value for money. Next slide, please. So I'll give a quick overview of the application documents and how they feed in to our assessment. So first is the written application. So throughout this, you will need to explain and justify why the grant funding is necessary and why the exact amount has been asked for. You will need to explain and evidence project benefits, such as jobs and R&D spillovers, and there needs to be really well evidenced explanation of risks in the project and sufficient mitigations provided as well. So the value for money Excel workbook or the economic monitoring form, this is where you will quantify the benefits and also provide some further evidence. So in this case, it will be R&D expenditure and job figures. And there will be cells within this workbook where you are expected to provide evidence and methodology, which will correspond to what's been provided in the written application questions. In order for these figures to be used, they need to be sufficiently backed up and well evidenced so that we can have a high level of confidence in the reported project benefits. And then the appendix, so as you've heard, you'll have the opportunity to further evidence and justify your claims regarding the benefits and also risks. And finally, the fourth is responses to feedback. So by default, can Pathfinder demonstrate the value for money assessment takes place sort of in the background, but if there are any kind of crucial pieces of evidence missing in the application and the economic monitoring form, there is potential that we may reach out during our assessment to clarify something that we feel is missing. But yeah, as I said, this is very unlikely to happen. And as long as all parts of the application are responded sufficiently well, then that won't be the case. Next slide, please. So your application should include a logical narrative explaining why the benefits that you've reported and the costs of the project are reasonable. Any figures that have been provided need to also be backed up by the calculation methods that you've used, including any assumptions you've made, and any supporting evidence and documentation that can be provided can only help the application and the credibility of the figures and benefits of the project. And when I refer to evidence, it can be anything from diagrams, tables, internal documents, letters, Excel spreadsheets. Please make these as easy and clear to follow, because we don't, as I said, we don't want to have to contact applicants within the process. This is sort of meant to be a background type of assessment. So the clearer, the better for us. Next slide, please. So in terms of the project benefits, I'll start with the wider impact of your R&D or spillovers. So within the written application, we'd like to see answers to the following questions. So how sort of considerations around how IP will or will not limit exploitation of project findings beyond the project, and if if it's a collaborative project, how it won't will or will not limit exploitation within and beyond the consortium. Also, what are the plans to share project results and findings, and how will other firms or potentially other sectors beyond CAM benefit? And finally, how and where will the technology and knowledge be used? So in the economic monitoring form, to inform us of these benefits and quantify them, we want to see spending profiles for CAM Pathfinder grant and the matched funding that will be used, any follow-up investment after the project. This includes R&D spend and capital. So what post-project expenditure do you anticipate that is a direct outcome of the project itself? An explanation of how these profiles were calculated, and finally, an explanation of the project impact on technology readiness levels or manufacturing readiness levels. Our second benefit, oh, sorry, if you could go back, thank you. Our second benefit we look at is employment. So within the written application, the responses we want to see relate to what are the job roles within the project and any job roles that are anticipated to follow on from the project. If there are any safeguarded roles within the consortium, or if it's not a consortium, within the applicant, alone. Please explain why these jobs are safeguarded as a result of the project going ahead and why they would otherwise be lost in the absence of grant funding. And so within the economic monitoring form, we ask you to provide the number of jobs created and safeguarded, including job titles, salaries, the postcode, and just to flag, please only include R&D and manufacturing jobs within your figures. And finally, as I said, an explanation as to how the jobs are calculated. Next slide, please. So a really crucial part of the application is the additionality aspect. So we really need to get a good understanding of why this grant is essential for your project. So from the written application, we need to understand why the project needs grant funding to go ahead and why it's the particular amount that has been asked for. In order to kind of score well in this additionality aspect, we need to be able to see evidence that you are unable to raise sufficient funds from other sources, and there needs to be sufficient evidence to prove this, or analysis that shows that the project doesn't meet the internal the IRR for internal R&D spend, possibly due to being a high-risk project, or analysis demonstrating that there is internal competition for carrying out this project at a lower cost location outside of the UK. So these are just a few examples, but whatever the kind of claim put forward, the most evidence you can provide, the better. And a really key important part is having a really clear counterfactual presented in the written application. We need to understand what is the most likely scenario should you not receive the grant funding. So will the project go ahead on a smaller scale, for example, to a different time scale and miss market opportunities, or would the project be undertaken overseas? And yeah, this additionality score directly affects your benefit cost ratio and the overall value for money assessment score of the project. Next slide, please. We also need to understand project risks, and I know this has been touched on a bit already, but of course these projects are risky by nature, and we just need to get a really kind of clear idea and a really clear understanding that the main risk of the project have been identified and that sensible mitigation strategies have been put in place. There is a question directly linked to this as well in the application, but we want to see that you've considered many different types of risks and assessed the impact of those risks and developed suitable mitigation strategies. And like the additionality aspect, the risk score will directly feed into the benefit cost ratio as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I'll just quickly touch on how to fill in the economic monitoring form. So from the screenshot example, I think it's actually question 24 in this competition, but you will see that you can download the economic monitoring form template, and once you've filled it in, you will need to upload it within the application. And I believe that you may need to confirm that this has been done within the application answer as well. Next slide, please. Filling in the economic monitoring form is pretty straightforward, but the kind of key tips I would give is that the guidance tabs within the workbook are really useful and really helpful and make filling it in as straightforward as possible. If job numbers are being entered, they should be entered cumulatively. There'll be further guidance on this as well in the guidance tabs. And there are description boxes alongside where you will fill in the jobs and R&D figures, spending figures as well. And it's really crucial for us that you fill this in to kind of back up any figures that you've provided and evidence them as well as possible. Next slide. I think that's it from my side. But yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to email myself or my colleague Dave Roberts, and we'd be happy to help. But otherwise, that's all, and best of luck with applications.
Thank you, Natalia. We are now just going to move on to the project cost categories section. So these are the categories that you will be asked to split out your project costs into in the finance section of the application. The application finances video will provide further instructions if you'd like to click on this when we send around the slides. There's also guidance within each category on IFS. In your project finances, there are 4 categories, and each organisation within an application must complete their own finance information that are listed on the screen. So as the lead applicant, you must check that your finances are complete and correct. Your total costs and funding requests must be in accordance with the competition's eligibility. Be careful to note the difference between the cost of your project and the amount of grant that you're requesting. For collaborative applications, IFS will highlight to the lead applicant any partners who have outstanding finances to complete. All finances must be included in the application before the lead can submit. IFS will also check that your research participation costs are within the required limits. So before you can submit your application, all organisations within an application must agree to the terms and conditions. IFS will not let you submit if this is outstanding. So we want to stress how important it is for you to submit your application as early as possible. Customer support can help resolve any issues, but they must be contacted well in advance of the deadline. Otherwise, we cannot guarantee they'll be able to help if it's just before. The lead carries the responsibility of making sure all partners in the application have completed their assigned sections and accepted their T's and C's if partners are applicable. And this chart shows some of our recent competitions. So just to discuss the use of AI, Innovate UK does not endorse or oppose the use of AI, but we are seeing an increase in the use of it in our applications. It is necessary you do your own research on this. If you do use it, Innovate UK does not accept any responsibility for any impact on your idea. Whilst AI offers many benefits, it is important that you are aware you are potentially sharing your idea with the world. So I'm now going to mention some funding rules and how your grant would be awarded should you be successful. So you are unable to claim funding if you qualify for any of the above on the screen. Firstly, there are some instances where we would not be able to award you any funding. This could be if you have an outstanding final claim or independent accountant report on a live Innovate UK project. In this case, you will not be eligible to apply for this competition as a lead or a partner organisation. We will also not award you any further funding if you have not made substantial effort to exploit a previous award or failed to comply with the grant terms and conditions. We award our grants under the UK subsidy control regime, which incorporates various agreements and frameworks. This slide shows the definition of a subsidy. Innovate UK is unable to award funding to organisations that are considered to be in financial difficulty. All organisations that are awarded funding are subjected to financial viability and eligibility checks. If you are an applicant who is conducting activities that will affect the trade of goods or electricity between Northern Ireland and the EU, then your grant would be awarded under European Commission state aid rules. In order to be eligible to receive state aid, you must pass the Undertakings in Difficulty test. So for industrial research projects, you can get funding for your eligible project costs of up to 70% if you're a micro or small organisation, up to 60% if you're a medium-sized organisation, and up to 50% if you're a large organisation. For experimental development projects, which are nearer to the market, you can get funding for your eligible project costs If you are up to 45%, if you're a micro or small organisation, up to 30% if you're a medium, and up to 25% if you're large. So I'm now going to take you over assessment. So to help you understand what happens after you've submitted your application, Innovate UK have produced a series of videos, and I have placed a link to the playlist on this slide. And we won't run through them now, but please do watch them at your leisure. So you will receive a notification explaining the next steps if you pass a technical assessment, where you will proceed to project setup in IFS. All 8 steps are detailed in your notification, which you must complete within a maximum of 90 calendar days. Please ensure you share the T's and C's with your legal team at the earliest possible opportunity. Once notified, you will have 30 calendar days to do this. The final step will be to sign and return your grant offer letter. We must first approve it, and then you'll get a go live email confirming you can start your project. So grants are claimed and paid out following authorisation quarterly in arrears. Please note, we carry out regular reviews of authorised accounts to make sure they remain compliant with FCA and PRA standards, and we may remove any organisation from the list that doesn't meet these standards. Before we finish, I just want to touch on our partners' business growth. Innovation-focused businesses face obstacles to growth. Common stumbling blocks include managing technical risks, knowing where to find and access the right resources, and having the right combination of skills and expertise within the business and continue to grow and scale. The Innovate UK Business Growth Service is there to support innovation-focused SMEs overcome these common barriers. Support is delivered at a local level by innovation and growth specialists who will provide deep expertise, access to regional and national and international resources, and work with you in a flexible and tailored way. Each organisation will be asked to complete a project impact questionnaire. These questions help Innovate UK to measure the impact of support which has on our organisations, businesses and individuals. The project impact questions are not scored and they don't form any part of the assessment. However, you will not be able to submit until you and your partners complete this. Innovate UK Business Growth Support is fully funded and it will be offered to all successful UK-based SME applicants following the start of their projects. It's also available to unsuccessful applicants, and you can find out more about the service and how to access it via the inquiry line. Here we have some useful links to help provide support. We highly recommend that you read our general guidance and check out Business Connect's Good Application Guide. If you need help putting together your collaboration agreement, please check our Lambert toolkit, but we cannot otherwise advise you on how to put this together. We've also provided some other useful links to keep you updated and in touch with all the opportunities that are available. So that brings us to the end of the seminar and to our Q&A. Please type any questions you have into the Q&A box and we'll try and answer them now. So I'm just having a look at the Q&A. We have a question here which says, is there any ISO requirement? What if, sorry, something's on my screen. What if the product tier 4 ready SD is used as a service provider, foreign company as a partner? If anyone can help with this.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry.
No, I don't understand it either, I'm afraid.
Okay, if the person who wrote that wanted to ask the question again, maybe more clearly, that would be brilliant. We're just going to move on for now though. What TRL level do you have in mind for real world deployment?
think it's 6 for deployment as a prototype. Is that right? The link in IFS will take you through to the definition of what the different TRL levels relate to.
Yeah. So specifically for this competition, we want projects that will end at 5 or 6 as a minimum. Saying that earlier, this can be for later stage products, but yes, fundamentally, TRL 8 is that the demonstration phases are fully completed to customer satisfaction, and then 9 is then going into operational experience as per the definitions that Richard's mentioned on the link through the IFS page.
Thank you. Do you need to demonstrate the benefits of applying this technology through monitoring and evaluation of services? Do you need to engage with end users in case of CAM services for people and goods movements?
I think that depends on what exactly is being developed in the project. In some circumstances, that might be appropriate. You would have to make the case within your application.
Thanks, David. Sorry, Richard. You mentioned that the tech must be reached TRL 5 by project end. There's a big focus on fast commercialization of the technology and product. How soon after project end do you expect the tech to reach TRL 9 and be commercialized if the project endpoint is TRL 5?
Yeah, okay, understand that question. There's a couple of aspects to this. I think one aspect is what Richard mentioned with the portfolio approach earlier, and that we are looking to take forward a range of projects based on the technological maturity come the end of the project. But yes, the minimum exit point for the projects that we're looking for is that TRL 5. And when we're talking about fast commercialization of the products and technologies afterwards, we're actually, the focus of the demonstrate is that you're getting that engagement with your customers, so that it's not just technology development for technology development's sake, but it's technology development with customer requirements and customer backing in mind. So there isn't necessarily a specific minimum time that we would expect you to commercialize afterwards, but it's all about demonstrating that you've got a couple of early commercial bits of interest, and that through the project you will develop those and have a demonstrator that will then lead further to a business decision on scaling that product or service up, if you're aiming your project at the lower end of the TRL 5 scale by the end of the project. So there's not necessarily a set time frame that you have to be going commercial after the project, but it's about the strength of the relationships and how that will make the demonstration project more likely for commercial success in the future.
Thanks, Alex. Can local road authorities lead as a project?
No, and not into this competition, but please do register and dial in for the briefing tomorrow, where you'll hear more, which is useful for you.
Thank you. If working on a technology roadmap to achieve TRL 5 or beyond, that includes working on technology ecosystem, including the ADS system within the timeline given, should one application be made or separate application for each component of the ecosystem?
Well, I'll go in with the initial one, and I think Richard will probably answer as well. So it depends on what, if you're delivering something that is part of a supply chain and part of a system, maybe you would think about doing that collaboratively in the project. So you co-develop those, and then that's then putting forward a strong supply chain opportunity and collaboration opportunity. If you have disparate technologies and they all need to be being developed, then you could also have multiple bids and multiple applications. So it just depends on the makeup of the consortium and the relationships, and probably what you're specifically working on, whether it makes sense to have it all in one application or in separate applications, depending on the different routes to market that you're aiming for. Richard, anything to add?
Yeah, it's going to be very much a it depends type answer, I'm afraid. The other thing to bear in mind is if you want to do multiple applications to do different parts of a system, then there's no guarantee that all applications will be successful. So each of those applications will need to be standalone, but you could make them flexible enough to link to other ones that are successful if they're successful. If you see what I mean, if you understand what I mean.
Thank you. Question here, project cash flow. When will the first payment application be allowed? Could this be before month 3? When will the first payment be made? Is the project payment made to the project lead only? This is something I'm not entirely sure on, and I'd probably like to get back to you on. I'm not sure if any of you could support, but it's probably something I need to get back on. If you could email in. What I will do is I will leave the contact details on the screen. So yeah, please email in with that one and we'll get back to you.
Can I just say that
Yeah.
claims are normally quarterly and in arrears. We don't normally deviate from that unless there's an extremely good reason why, and that's very unlikely. So it's best to assume at this stage that you'll be paid against claims which are made quarterly in arrears. So for the first costs which are accrued during the first 3 months, you put your claim in month 4, and realistically you might get paid around the beginning of month 5. So if that helps in terms of planning your cash flow, that's what is expected to happen.
Thank you.
And the final part of that question is it's payments, grant payments are made to each individual partner in the project.
Yes.
Question here. I think what the applicant meant was the car to be AV. What criteria is as ISO standard, as there are differences between shuttle and taxi? Do you understand that?
I think for this, what is in an ISO standard only becomes relevant if that ISO standard is called up within legislation. So the best thing to do is to look at the legislative requirements for the UK. If you are looking predominantly to export, then obviously you'll need to take into account legislative requirements in other countries where you're expecting to export to. But for this particular competition, as this is technology based, the standards which you would need to comply with are potentially very, very wide, and we can't specify specific standards across the whole range of technologies which you could be developing. It's impractical for us to do that, I'm afraid. So I think it's for you to specify which ISO standards or other standards across the global requirement space you think you need to be complying with, and then you should explain how you're going to comply with it.
Thank you. Together with CAM OEMs, we are developing an AI-powered platform that empowers CAM end users, like major event organisers, to effortlessly integrate and visualize available CAM services, optimizing their connection to the last mile mobility ecosystem. Would this concept be eligible under the off-vehicle technology strand?
Do you want to answer this one, Alex, or shall I have a go?
I think it's a bit of one of those it depends ones for me. Richard, you can go.
Okay, I think we need to be a little bit careful in trying to draw a definite boundary between technologies which enable CAM services and technologies which or services which are enabled by CAM services, or business opportunities which are enabled by CAM services. If this is actually going to make a significant difference to the rollout of CAM, then then yes, it would fall into that. Well, you'd have to make that case. If this project didn't happen, would those CAM services still happen? Well, maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. You'd have to explain your opinions on that and justify them. It's really the point of the competition is to enable these technologies, to enable these services and these products. Is that what your application would do?
Yeah.
You'd need to answer that in the positive, I think.
Yeah.
Is that fair, Alex?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's does the technology being developed really enable the vehicles to make it into existence.
Thank you. Got a question here. You're looking for around 15 projects, and these could be individual companies or consortia. Is there a dedicated web portal where Zenzic, Innovate UK, or others are offering a matchmaking system or service to help build consortia?
Yes, that's exactly what Innovate UK Business Connect does. So please do get in contact with Tony Gallego at Innovate UK Business Connect. He will help with that, and I'm sure colleagues at Zenzic will also be able to assist with that too. Whether there's a dedicated portal, Alex?
No, so there isn't a dedicated portal. I would say use the services of Innovate UK Business Connect for making those connections initially. When you have some formation of a consortium, I think that's where Zenzic can help through the business development services. And if there's one particular gap that's missing in your project, then that would also be an area where we'd be able to help and potentially link you up. But for that initial formation and initial sharing, yeah, I think the Business Connect services would be your best starting point.
Thank you. Will the recording be sent to our emails? On our side, we upload it to IFS rather than send to emails. I'm not sure if you, Richard and Alex, circulate it as well, but
No, we don't.
okay. Well, the recording and a PDF of the slides will be uploaded to IFS.
I think that's
Brilliant.
every questions.
I think we have, yeah, I think we're all done. If there's any more, we'll give it a minute or so, but if not, we'd just like to say thank you for attending today, and we also look forward to receiving your applications. Did you have anything to add, Richard or Alex?
Nothing more from me, thanks. No.
No, look forward to hearing from you.
Brilliant. I think we'll close the seminar there then. Thank you, everyone.